move that we authorize the city administrator to execute a development agreement with Gardner 118 LLC regarding the right-of-way dedication and funding of street improvements for Sheens Crossing second plat.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second Harrison, that the governing body authorize the city administrator to execute a development agreement with Gardner 188 LLC regarding the right-of-way dedication and funding of street improvements for Sheens Crossing second plat. No other questions. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? New business item number 1 passes. New business item number 2. Thought you were going to get to cool your heels, Mike.
Yeah.
No such luck.
So this is basically a very similar item. It's, you know, a lot of the history because it was just discussed. This is a final plat. You're being asked to accept the easements and right-of-way for final plat for Shane's Crossing. I will spare you going through all the slides one by one. That is the final plat. One of the conditions that's on the final plat is the road needs to be changed. It's not shown on this diagram, but we actually have a copy of the final plat showing that the name of the road has been changed to Locust Street. We're not necessarily committed to that in the long term. That's something that can change. With that, I will go on to the next slide, what you're being asked to act on tonight. And this is Planning Commission's recommendation. And with that, I will take any questions or comments.
Public comments regarding new business item number 2. There's your chance.
Again, Mark Hanna. Staff made one comment I'm going to ask you all to think about for a second here. And that is that in his mind, the only logical place to put this road is where it's now located, where it's being proposed. What you all are doing is setting the course for the realignment of 191st Street. Whether we want to call it that or not, that's what you're looking at right now because that's just what he said. You all know that the household lobbying firm suggested that before any decisions are made in this area, there should be a very comprehensive study done. Staff acknowledges that. But yet the staff turns right around and says, well, this is really the only north-south corridor, so we just need to go ahead and do it. Do you really need to go ahead and do it? No, you don't. You can completely revise this and indicate that you'll accept this plat down to the lot, stop the road there. There doesn't need to be an extension down to 191st Street now. And then let the study be done, Mr. Mayor, as you suggested. And at that point, then decide with the experts' input, pursuant to your comprehensive new master plan, whether or not this is in fact going to be the new 191st Street. It's that simple. Thank you.
Anyone else? Questions for staff?
I do want to share, as I pulled up the comprehensive plan, one of the things that it talks about in that particular area, I'll just read it verbatim, so it says, it isn't, and this is regarding specifically 188th Street and 191st Street area. It's important to continue to assess the long-term infrastructure needs while developing roadway plans that can be implemented incrementally as private development occurs within the area. So that's actually straight from the comprehensive plan, which ties into what the mayor suggested about long-term studies in the area while also working with developers who we have at the door. So I think it does actually meet the criteria of what we presented and were presented and actually what we approved as the final draft summary. So actually wanted to share that because I was able to pull it out and look at it and see exactly what it was suggested for us to do in that space. And it was to work with developers while developing long-term plans, which I think there's a commitment from everyone, Mike, Brian, in order to do that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I heard tonight, right? Yes. Great. That's all I have.
Yeah, I even go so far as to say that what House of Levine mentioned in the comprehensive plan is exactly what we're doing here. I mean, precisely, I mean, the development agreement is currently drafted, exactly what we're doing here. I mean, precisely, I mean, the development agreement is currently drafted, states that private contractor, or private entity, develops the road to its specifications for what it needs for accessing those pad sites. And in the future, if there was a decision to make that into an arterial, there is no decision now. We have a reservation, as I said before, to allow that to happen, but I don't think there's anything in this agreement or in this replat that binds us to putting that road through that area. It just gives us the option to do it at a future date. I don't think that 109th Versus is going to be realigned at all until that transportation study is completed. Am I not correct in that assumption?
I can't imagine.
I mean, we won't be putting any arterial in until we know where exactly we're going to put it. And this isn't this may not be exactly where we're going to put it.
Well, unless we can get KDOT to knuckle under for it.
That's
There's
our
always-
job.
There's always that we're gonna work on it, so. Any other questions for staff, any other comments regarding new business item number 2? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we accept the easements and right-of-way for the final plat for Sheens Crossing second plat, FP 14-04, subject to the conditions as listed.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second Harrison, that we accept the easements and rights of way for the final plat of Sheens Crossing second plat, FP 14-04, subject to the conditions listed. Further questions or comments? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? New business item number 2 passes.
Thank you.
New business item number 3. Consider authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with O'Donnell and Sons Construction Company Incorporated for the electric distribution building parking lot replacement project, project number GE 1401. David Green, good evening.
Good evening. The parking lot at the electric distribution building is an asphalt parking lot. It's deteriorated to poor subgrade conditions and the truck loading. We prepared plans based on recommendations from a geotechnical engineer for the pavement thickness. Project will replace approximately 1,570 square yards of asphalt pavement with 7 inches of Portland cement concrete on top of a 6-inch aggregate base with 9 inches of fly stabilized subgrade. We took bids, basically posted on the website on August 28th, published in the Gardner News on September 3rd, received 6 bids on September 23rd. The bids range from a low of $119,060.50 to a high of $171,505. The low bid was submitted by O'Donnell and Sons. We're recommending that the contract be awarded to O'Donnell. In talking to O'Donnell, they anticipate completing the project in approximately 14 days instead of the 28 allowed. We will be relocating the distribution operation to the Energy Center during the construction. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay. Thank you, David. Hang tight. We'll open the floor for public comments. If there's anyone in attendance that wants to comment on new business item number 3, now's your opportunity. No one coming forward. Questions for David or other staff regarding new business item number 3? See, this is when we're all shifting into let's get home for the Royals game mode. If not,
I move we authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with O'Donnell and Sons Construction Company for the electric distribution building parking lot replacement project, project number GE 1401, in the amount of $119,060.50.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Schuster, authorize the city administrator to execute the contract with O'Donnell and Sons Construction Company Incorporated for the electric distribution building parking lot replacement project, project number GE 1401, in the amount of $119,060.50. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? New business item number 3 passes. Happy parking day. New business item number 4, consider adopting a resolution authorizing the city of Gardner, Kansas to make certain public building improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city to pay the cost thereof, all pursuant to KSA 12-1736. This is for municipal pool improvements. Jeannie, do you have a resolution number?
1911.
Laura Gorley, let's go Royals.
Right. So we've discussed this item many, many times following the governing body's tour last year, the city's facilities, and during the 2015 budget process. Council gave consensus that this pool rehabilitation project was a priority project. The estimated debt service for this rehabilitation project was included in the 2015 budget. Even though the project will commence now, there won't be any payments till 2015. Estimated financing needs for the project are approximately $595,000, which is a rounded estimate, and includes replacing the stainless steel gutters on the last lane pool, painting the pools, recoating the slides and equipment, replacing furniture and equipment, replacing the roof on the bathhouse, ventilation improvement in the pump room, security enhancements, and engineering and financing costs were included in that estimate. This is a procedural item. Governing body's done this before. If you're going to issue debt, you have to formally approve that you're going to reimburse yourself from the proceeds of the debt, and that's what this item is for.
Understood. Public comments regarding new business item number 4. We are cruising now. Questions for Laura?
Or one very simple question, with the payments of the debt, that from the forecasting that's available now, that doesn't project to be any increase in mill levies moving forward?
No, this actually, let me give you a few more heads up. We're currently considering very heartily refinancing some other KDOT loans with this. It will make this a more cost-efficient bond issue. You're probably going to see a November 3rd authorization for the bond sale to include the refinancing. This particular project we're going to do this in 8 years instead of our usual 10, and that's going to come in less than what we budgeted for it at the moment. Now, all things change because of markets and whatever, but as it stands today and the projections we're making, you're going to save money on your refinancing, and you're going to save money on this pool project.
Excellent. Thanks, Laura.
I just had a question about some of the things that were included within this authorization. And really, these questions are more for Jeff than for you, Laura. But it talks about security enhancements and some of the furniture and equipment. Could you speak on those really quickly?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Should that be specific to the next item, or does it need to be part of the debt?
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I can wait till the next item.
So the next item is
It's
only
only for the bond.
Just for the bond.
It's, I thought that I thought the next item was just gonna be for the pool contract. And
Well, actually, yeah,
It
it
does
is.
include this? Okay.
No,
It doesn't include.
it doesn't include the items you have just brought.
Yes, that's why I mentioned it,
Okay.
so.
Yep.
So, we want to authorize,
You bet.
Well, I think the question could be, I don't think it's appropriate to talk about it in the next time.
Maybe I can
Oh.
help. Maybe I can help. This estimate is, you can change it. This authorization is for the whole project.
Yes.
But it can be amended, so you don't have to issue this much right now, if that helps.
and we're
I
only
mean, you're only
authorizing
approving,
331,000,
In the next.
but we're authorizing up to
You're authorizing-
595,000.
right, the whole project.
I just had a couple of questions about
Okay.
the scope of this, that's all. So, well, I suppose can we ask that in the next section, even though it's not germane to that topic either?
what you
We can answer it now, go ahead.
Okay,
That's-
yeah, either one, okay, yes.
Certainly, Laura did a great job outlining some of the, or all of the things that we've addressed as being needed to either be rehabilitated or replaced. Specifically, the furniture that you brought up in your question, Councilmember. There are a number of pieces of furniture that have several years of life in them, and we're seeing more and more breaks to that furniture, and feel that now is the time to replace the furniture that we have. It's been a year or two since we've replaced any of it, quite frankly, and it is time to replace some of the older furniture that we do have. Not all of it will be replaced, but we've identified the pieces that do need to be.
Okay, and the security?
In the security system, we do have some, we do have an alarm system on the facility, and we do have a number of cameras. Quite frankly, we would like to enhance that a little bit. We have some opportunities to perhaps do some needed upgrades. The system that we have is a number of years old, and perhaps add an additional camera or two to some key locations, just for public safety and for staff security as well.
That's all I wanted to know.
You bet.
I appreciate it.
And mostly separate items on those, I'm assuming? They'll be, not just like the gutters, right?
Some of these items will be coming to the council like the action item that's following Laura's presentation. Not necessarily every one of these purchases, because they're within our authority.
Okay, thank you.
On a personal level, could we just get a couple more clocks in there?
We'll
That's just, I'm always in there, I'm like, I wish there were 2 more clocks, because I can't see around the corner, but, maybe we don't have to bond finance that, maybe we can just cash it out.
I think we can afford it.
Honestly, it's like Las Vegas, we want you to lose track of time.
Yeah. There's no smoky room, so it doesn't compute.
Keith just wants to know when to turn over, right?
When the base begins.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, we've got, resolution 1911.
Yes. I would like to make a motion to adopt resolution number 1911, authorizing the city of Gardner, Kansas to make certain public building improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds to the city to pay the cost thereof, all pursuant to KSA 12-1736. That's cyclical.
Second.
Motion, second, Freeman, that we adopt resolution number 1911, authorizing the city of Gardner, Kansas to make certain public building improvements and authorizing the issuance of general obligation bonds of the city to pay the costs thereof, all pursuant to KSA 12-1736. Roberts.
Yes.
Freeman. Yeah.
Yes.
Harrison. Shute.
Yes.
Resolution 1911 passes. New business item number 5. Jeff Stewart is here, and good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I should probably start this presentation by thanking the Kansas City Royals for doing a great job of sweeping the Angels, allowing Laura the night off to come give the presentation on the item before me. This item that I'm presenting you tonight is tied directly into what she just presented, and it's actually, quite frankly, the largest of the projects that we're planning in the coming months, of a number of projects at the Aquatic Center. You may recall on your CIP tour, taking a look at the lap lane pool specifically, and some of the evidence that we have seen and is pictured here as signs of continued failure of the gutter system on that particular swimming pool. It is continuing to leak. We have fear that it will continue to get worse, and the engineer's estimate is that it will at some point fail, and you do not want that to happen during season, because you will still have to make the repairs, and you will be out and down a swimming pool in the interim. With that being the case, we did work with Aquatic Design Consultants to put together some engineer documents and specifications for the repairs that are necessary and replacing the stainless steel gutter system and painting the pool basins, which are also due to be done. We did go out for sealed bids. Those bids were received on September 17th, at which time we did receive 3 bids from all qualified pool contractors. I'm pleased to share with you tonight that the low bidder was locally owned and operated Continental Pools. Some of you may be familiar with them. They actually constructed the pool portion of our expansion that was opened in 2007. Did a nice job. So they are the low bidder with a base bid of $311,200, and also included in the documents was a $10,000 testing allowance and a $10,000 contingency. We hope that we don't reach that amount for either one of those, but they are built into the contract in case there is a need for them. We did also ask for an alternate for some starting blocks for the lap lane pool, because quite frankly, if we were to ever add them, now would be the time to do so with the concrete work that will be taking place around the swimming pool. The engineer actually does not recommend that we accept that. It's not because of the pricing of it, but we're already fairly shallow in depth there. We do meet the current USA Swimming requirements of 48 inches in depth if they're certified divers, and that's a big key there. We're mostly recreation swimmers there, and we would have to make sure that all divers that are using those platforms are certified divers to do so. He also indicated that USA Swimming is currently pushing for those minimum depths to be increased to 2 meters, or about 6 foot 7 inches. So that makes us hesitate to put those in at this time, both from a safety standpoint, or mostly from a safety standpoint. So that being the case, we're not recommending that we accept the alternate. I do want to share with you real quick here that when construction starts, we will pressure test the main drain line. We are in hope that that will prove to be a good test for us. If that's the case and we do not have to replace the main drain line, then we will see a $10,000 credit back to us on this contract. And so that's our hope on that. So with that, I'm happy to answer any of your questions, and would recommend that you authorize the city administrator to enter into a contract with Continental Pools.
This is an opportunity for public comments on new business. Item number 5.
I'm Sean Carlisle again, and I wasn't going to plan on speaking, but I like swimming and swimming sports, so I will. As in regards to the blocks, a lot of my kids are on swim teams, and we go to a lot of different cities for the swimming pools, and a lot of them have removable blocks. Is that something we could look into? Because I would like to see Gardner grow and have a swim team, and those blocks are key. And I believe with the USA Swimming guidelines, not every diver has to be certified, but the coach has to be certified instructing the divers with the 48-inch minimum requirements. I know the Olathe YMCA is a 48-inch pool, and they're also contemplating putting in dive lanes, and my wife happens to be the swim coach who's USA certified, working with the swimmers on that. So I'm not against I would just like to see if there's something we could do to have some removable dive lanes, if that's at all possible, before just ruling out the diving blocks altogether. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean.
I'd be happy to answer that if you'd like.
Question.
Great. I'd answer that first.
Sure. He's absolutely correct. There are guidelines, and it is 48 inches in depth, as I indicated before. To my understanding is any of the participants that are to dive off of those blocks must be certified by an instructor, okay? It must be, and I don't know all the ins and outs of those details, but they must be certified. In the drawings that we have, we did include a starting block to also be located in the diving well area, which we would meet those depths. But I think from a managerial standpoint, we'd certainly want to make sure from a liability standpoint too, that all of those divers are certified when they're using those starting blocks. Whether those guidelines are going to change or not, it's hard to tell. There are a lot of swimming pools that have those depths that are 48 inches or a little bit greater than that. We would meet all of those depths for the proposed starting blocks. All of the ones that the starting blocks that we spec'd out are removable. Now, that sounds easy. They're not necessarily that easy to put into place and take out. So you have to make sure, again, from a managerial standpoint, that when they're not being used by those that are certified to use them, you need to have them out of place. But we could, by law, we could go either direction.
So the concrete work that would be required to put those blocks in, is it?
Another $17,000?
But I mean, that's just for the concrete work and not for the blocks, or?
Now, that alternate would actually include the lane dividers, the starting blocks, and the anchors for those starting blocks.
Yeah.
They are removable starting blocks. So that's why I indicated that now would be an appropriate time to do it, because setting those anchors would be a good time.
Yeah, that's.
And that's potentially another option, if you wanted us to work with the contractor at just putting in place the anchors at this point, that is a possibility.
That's exactly what I was thinking. The concrete work to put the anchors in to do, and that's minimal. That's a minimal cost.
They're probably $200 to $400 per block.
Yeah.
Just let me ask one really quick question as a follow-up to that. How many times have citizens reached out and wished that there were, because in most cases, in most cities, the swim teams are they're not part of the local Parks and Recs program. They're private organizations, or they're specialized groups. I would assume it's from a liability standpoint, but how often have you received the input that there was a desire for that to be in place?
Over the last 14 years, I have not had that a lot.
Okay.
But there have been occasional requests, even this past season. There is a select few that have indicated the interest. Now, if you start a program like that, that can build, certainly, and I recognize that could draw more interest. But as far as people actually coming to us with a request or the desire to have one, it hasn't been a large number, but there have been some.
When I would add, that's an opportunity, I mean, you have swim meets here, all of that, I mean, that's just an opportunity to have more.
It's a double-edged sword, because it also closes that side of the pool. It could lessen your day passes and your pool participants for that day as well.
Can I speak to that? Most
I could,
swimmers start at like 7 in the morning and are done.
Okay.
Like every other city we swim at, they are public pools that open at 1, the same time our pool opens, and the swim meets are picked up and everybody's gone before the pool even opens.
They're usually either before or after. They usually run through Parks and Rec.
I was a swimmer for, 15 years, when I was a little kid all the way through high school. I see the benefit, I like the benefit of starting blocks, that we could grow into a swimming team. Those swim meets bring lots of people to the city. Do we have to get all the blocks and line markers now? But no, but I think we need to have the anchors built in while we're doing the cement work, so we have that possibility. I think that's just a resource that we would be throwing away if we didn't do it now.
I would suggest that maybe we go with the Continental Pools total bid, but knowing that the lane ropes and all that kind of stuff, it's going to be not to exceed that. Instead of written as 331,200, we could go 348,200, but it probably isn't going to come close to that. Lane ropes are expensive.
The lane ropes are probably $5,000 in total, give or take.
Sure.
Okay.
How does that sound to everybody?
I've got no issue with that.
You wanna make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Oh, go ahead.
To authorize the city administrator to enter an agreement with Continental Pools Incorporated in the amount of $348,200 for the purpose of replacing the stainless steel gutters on the left lane pool and to paint all of them.
Second.
Motion, second Roberts. We authorize the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Continental Pools Incorporated in the amount of $331,200.
No,
I mean, $348,200 for the purpose of replacing the stainless steel gutters on the lap lane pool and paint all pools. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
Thank you.
Looking forward to next swim season.
Point of clarification, you're directing us to just put in anchors though, and not
Yes.
purchase the rest of the material?
Not to exceed.
Okay, okay, thank you.
New business item number 6, consider authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Kirby's Lawn and Garden LLC for the retaining wall reconstruction at Moonlight Road and Lanesfield Street. Touching all the bases this evening. Good evening, Brian.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In your brief sheet today, you'll actually see a couple of photographs of the existing retaining wall. We've had a lot of questions from residents as well as council on the wall. The modular block retaining wall along the west side of Moonlight Road at Lanesfield Street was originally constructed as part of the North Moonlight Road Improvement Project in 2011. In the summer of 2012, the wall began to lean towards the sidewalk and eventually collapsed completely in several locations. As a result of the failure, staff prepared project plans and specs with the existing wall to be removed and reconstructed in its original configuration. The plans called for the installation of a geogrid reinforcement, which is attached to the wall and is buried behind to counteract the pressure placed on the wall by the soil backfill. Geogrid was not used when the wall was originally constructed. The plans also include substantially more crushed rock and drain pipes extending through the wall, which will help negate hydrostatic groundwater pressure on the wall. In late August, plans and specs were sent to 6 companies with bids received by 2 firms. Staff did check the references for the low bid, Kirby's Lawn and Garden LLC, with extremely positive feedback. Their bid was $36,387. City staff, namely Tim, our city engineer, worked with Johnson County and was able to secure 50% funding through CARS for approximately $18,000. The remaining funds for this project are available in the Special Highway Fund. The revised 2014 budget did include $30,000 for this project. So staff recommends that the city administrator be authorized to execute a contract with Kirby's Lawn and Garden LLC for retaining wall reconstruction at Moonlight and Lanesfield in the amount of $36,387, but with the understanding it will be reimbursed from CARS for half of that cost.
Public comment regarding new business item number 6. Anyone? No one coming forward. Questions for Brian?
I have one. So is this replacing both walls, even the one that's not falling down?
Correct, it's
Okay,
both north and
okay,
south.
Okay, good.
It's our opinion it will.
Ryan, you know, in the staff summary, it sounds like the original company on their own right is you know, legally absolved themselves of any responsibility, but is that the case? I mean, is it even worth something pursuing for the cost of the failure of the construction in a, what are we, 2-year-old project?
Right, I mean, I would have to know more about the project, but a lot of times when, you know, there aren't requirements in the contract to inspect subsurface conditions, and basically they build it according to specs, as designed by the engineer, then the contractor probably doesn't have any liability there. And maybe, you know, could be some recourse against whoever engineered the wall to begin with, if that was an outside firm. But
do we know what it originally cost to build the wall? What
Actually,
that was?
no, we don't. This was actually a
Part of a bigger project.
bigger project.
And then the final one I had, you know, lesson learned, does this firm have any sort of warranty in place from a construction perspective, from the expectation of the work they're going to do for us?
We require a 2-year maintenance bond.
Okay.
The problem with the first project, it was partially funded through KDOT.
Who did not.
And they do not require that.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all I had. Thanks, Brian.
That was the question I had, is what kind of warranty? And then, I know you said we're gonna add extra reinforcement and the gravel and everything, and we don't think it'll happen. Is that why is the Kansas Heavy Construction the bidder? They're so much higher. We're not missing something, are we?
No, we're not.
Okay, I mean, 'cause they're like $102,000.
And 95,000 of that was removing and replacing the existing block.
Okay.
It was just a.
I just didn't want us to be like 2 years now, it's falling down, and we're like, oh, we should have gone with the bigger bid, or?
No, we're
Okay.
very comfortable with the contractor and the design.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I move that we authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Kirby's Lawn and Garden LLC for the retaining wall reconstruction at Moonlight Road and Lanesfield Street in the amount of $36,387.
Second.
Motion Freeman, second Harrison, that we authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Kirby's Lawn and Garden LLC for the retaining wall reconstruction at Moonlight Road and Lanesfield Street, the amount of $36,387. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? New business item number 6 passes. New business item number 7, consider authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Engineering America Incorporated for the rehabilitation of the North Lift Station Overflow Storage Tank. Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. The North Lift Station Overflow Storage Tank was constructed in 2006 and is a bolted metal structure with a concrete floor. Overflow structures are critically important in wastewater systems to address I&I issues. Without this added storage, the Kill Creek wastewater plant would be overwhelmed on numerous occasions. The walls are about 10 feet tall, and about 3 weeks ago, we were less than a foot from going over this storage tank. And that's 1 million gallons of storage. So they are critically important that we have and that we maintain. In recent years, the concrete around the exterior of the tank and the interior floor and the coating system on the interior metal portion of the tank began to fail. Within the last year, the failure rate has accelerated, and immediate concrete repairs and recoating of the metal structure is required to help ensure the long-term integrity of the tank. There are photographs enclosed with your packet. Plan and contract documents were sent to 12 companies, 2 plan houses. The notice was placed on the city's website and was published in the Guardian News. Staff met with 2 firms on site and 2 other firms had questions we answered over the phone. Unfortunately, only 1 bid was received, and that was from Engineering America Incorporated, and their bid was $190,815. Our estimate for the project was $180,000. Many firms on the distribution list do only coatings. And with the extensive concrete work, this was not their area of expertise. Engineering America specializes in the construction and maintenance of liquid storage tanks and has worked with Gardner in the past, as well as many communities in the Midwest. Staff recommendation, we asked the city administrator to be authorized to execute a contract with Engineering America for the rehabilitation of the North Lift Station Overflow Storage Tank in the amount of $190,815.
Public comments regarding new business item number 7. No one coming forward. Questions for Brian?
Yeah, I have one question, and I understand that the distribution list only sent this out to firms that were, we only sent it out to firms on distribution list, but to me, getting 1 bid back, and only 1 bid, makes me ask questions about the process itself, and whether or not we have, are there any other companies that do this kind of concrete work along with the lines with the coatings? I feel like we're, potentially, setting ourselves as maybe paying more money than we should be for this work. And that's the only question I really had, but.
Well, we had definitely hoped to get more, and like I said, we met with 2 on site, and we talked with 2 over the phone. The plan houses themselves have to make the plans available to anyone across the country that wants to pick these up. So we have a lot of coating companies, we have concrete repair companies, but not many firms do all that work. So when the coating companies looked at it and what it would take, and then by the time they hired a subcontractor to do the concrete work in the time frame that we had to do it, I don't know if that made them nervous, but we only did receive the 1 bid.
The 45-day term of this to complete fleet is really what scared the contractors off more than anything else.
It's possible, the time of year. I mean, and we do have in there, we understand that concrete work's gonna be done first. Right. And then you come back and blast it and you recoat it, and if the tank is below a certain temperature, we wanna make sure the coating does last, and so,
Yep.
we're agreeable to, stopping counting the actual working days until the springtime when it warms up.
Brian, based on your experience and the conversations you had, would there be any benefit, or do you think any cost savings to bidding the two out separately? Still have the concrete, or if there's companies that just work in that and companies that do the coating?
It's definitely a possibility. We hadn't looked at it that way.
Do you think it would be any benefit, I guess is my question.
Administering two contracts in a time is gonna be an issue. We definitely wouldn't get it done this year. I couldn't say if it would save money or not, but like I said, that one firm in particular has the capability to do both.
And time is of the essence, and this is wastewater, not treated potable water, correct?
That's correct. And you can see by the pictures, we're having substantial failures around the outside.
Right.
One of the things that raised the price, we did spec CC Mtg concrete, which is a granite aggregate. A lot of the problems you see in the community with sidewalks and driveways and everywhere else is we use the limestone aggregate in the past. And the current ledges that they're using is rather soft, and it has water that absorbs and freeze thaws and pops. And so we're addressing that with this project.
Now, I was gonna ask you, of the two, obviously the lining needs to be recoated, but, the concrete work is critical. That needs to be done, like, very soon.
Correct. I mean, it's the exponentially quick on the failure rate. So.
Sure. Okay.
Any other questions? I would certainly entertain a motion.
I move we authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Engineering America, Inc. for the rehabilitation of the North Lift Station overflow storage tank in the amount of $190,815.
Second.
Motion Harrison, second Freeman. We authorize the city administrator to execute a contract with Engineering America Incorporated for the rehabilitation of the North Lift Station overflow storage tank in the amount of $190,815. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? New business item number 7 passes. New business item number 8, consider authorizing the city administrator to execute a contract with Walters Excavating LLC to remove water treatment process sludge from one large pond and one small pond at the Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant. Sludge.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a project that comes back about every year. We have two large ponds at the Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant, and we alternate. Last year we did one. In 2014 we need to do the other. We would be back in 2015, go through the cycle again. The Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant does have two large ponds and one small pond that stored treated processed sludge. At current production rates, the sludge from one of the large ponds and a small pond must be removed each year. The 2014 revised budget did include $40,000 in operations for sludge removal. Staff did feel that the price would come in within the new purchasing policy under $50,000, so we did not go out for the formal bid process. We went out for informal solicitations. We contacted 7 firms, and we did receive 2 bids. Walters Excavating was low at $45,500. As we only received 2 quotes, staff compared the results from 2013 for a similar scope of work and found the average for the 4 lowest bids in 2013 was $39,423. Staff reviewed the Water treatment budget with Nancy with the finance department, and we've identified areas in both chemicals and equipment that we can cover the cost difference of $5,500 between the low bid and the revised budget number. So staff does recommend that city administrator be authorized to execute a contract in the amount of $45,500 with Walters Excavating LLC to remove water treatment process sludge and one large pond and one small pond at the Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant.
Very good. Public comment regarding new business item number 8. Debbie, David, I see you guys in the back row, there's still chance. No? Okay. Questions or,
I do have a,
Go ahead, sorry.
go ahead.
yeah, I have a question, of the bid process itself. With, I know that we extended the invitations to bid, and we asked for quotes, I apologize. With those, were the ones that we have no bid on, no response or decline to bid?
No response.
No response. And how many bids, I know we had the average for the 4 lowest bids last year, how many bids did we receive on the same project last year?
We had 6 or 7. One of the things last year, I think the low bid was in the $20,000 range, and it totally skewed the average. The majority of bids were in the 40 to 50,000 range. We had some 70 to 80. And so when we looked at the budget this year, we knew the low bid was, we really felt the gentleman was losing money, and his phone was disconnected this year.
This time?
Pretty good. But when we came through in from a budget perspective, we just said the average of the 4, which includes a really low bid.
So really, the number, it truly wasn't the $6,000 increase we see if we actually throw out that low ball
If you
bid.
throw out the low bid, Walters Excavating is probably very much in line.
Okay, that's excellent, thank you.
Hey, Brian, and this is more, I think, ongoing for everything. If we have something that is a yearly ongoing maintenance, I think it would be beneficial if we not only solicit bids for that one time, but look at and see if there's some options for some 3 to 5 year type contracts to see if there's any cost savings. So, again, not specifically with this, but this just is a good example of something that if it's gonna happen every year, I'd like to start seeing some of that.
Yep. I will absolutely concur with Christina. I think that if we are looking at ongoing contracts like this, I think we don't have a contract, we need a contract. That'll help to bring some certainty of the process. We're not gonna have to have different providers and, wild changes in.
And very well may actually give you a better number if someone's sure of work.
Right, exactly.
Help.
Yes.
Gentlemen, give you a better number.
Yes.
Anything else? Because if there's not, we would entertain a motion.
I move no, go ahead. I move that we authorize the city administrator to execute a contract in the amount of $45,500 with Walters Excavating LLC to remove water treatment process sludge from one large pond and one small pond at Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant. Go Royals.
Second.
Motion, Shute, second Freeman, that we authorize the city administrator to execute a contract in the amount of $45,500 with Walters Excavating LLC to remove water treatment process sludge from one large pond and one small pond at the Hillsdale Water Treatment Plant. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Let's do something about that sludge. Council updates. The staff, have anything for council? Jeff?
No, sir.
Mike?
No, sir.
Ryan?
Yes, Mayor, I do. If it'd be all right, I'd like to bring the city council up to date on what city staff and administration is doing to help ensure the city is complying with the Americans with Disabilities Act. A little background, in 1992, the city did appoint the Assistant Administrator and City Clerk, Gwen Scott, as the city's first ADA coordinator. Administration will review and will make a determination on what position within the city is most appropriate for the ADA coordinator and will make that appointment. In 1992, the city also adopted an ADA grievance procedure. The existing grievance procedure will be reviewed and updated as needed. All new public infrastructure projects are being designed to incorporate PROAG, and PROAG stands for Public Right-of-Way Accessibility Guidelines. Public Works engineering staff has been and will continue to review all new sidewalks and ADA ramps being constructed on the right-of-way for both single-family and commercial projects. We are inspecting both prior to and after the concrete is placed. In 2013 and 14, a number of improvements were completed by the city, the county, state, and the private sector. These include ramp replacement, sidewalk replacement, and improvements at a number of intersections, including Grand and Moonlights, Grand and Center, 183rd and Center, and Main and Center. Earlier in 2014, the city did submit an application for a 2015 Community Development Block Grant, where we requested $100,000 to help fund sidewalk and ADA ramp improvements in the downtown area. As part of this request, the city did budget $20,000 in the Capital Improvement Reserve Fund. The city did improve a crosswalk signage and lowered the speed limit in the area around the crosswalk located at Brittany Court and North Center. We also placed a portable message board in the southbound lane for 2 weeks around the Labor Day weekend, reminding people of the law to yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk. Approximately 2 weeks ago, a meeting was held with department directors and administration. Staff was directed to review the status of improvements for their divisions. This includes the park systems, public buildings, requirements for commercial structures, specifically the remodel, and public rights-of-way, ramps, crosswalks, and signalized intersections. Directors were given approximately 6 weeks to complete their initial review and will report back to the mayor and the city administrator prior to November 17th. And an update will be presented during the November 17th council meeting. A specific item mentioned earlier this evening is a crosswalk on North Center, located on the north side of the Brittany Court entrance. The east side of this crosswalk is located in the drive approach to the Aquatic Center. Currently, there are no sidewalks along the west side of North Center from Main to just south of McKinley. There are several options for improving this situation. First option would be to relocate the crosswalk approximately 25 feet south of the entrance to Brittany Court. This would move the walkway away from the Aquatic Center entrance. A second option would be to relocate the crosswalk to Washington Street. This would require a sidewalk be constructed from Shawnee to Brittany Court. The existing crosswalk at Shawnee would be eliminated. The quickest option is to relocate just south of Brittany Court, and while this does provide an improved crosswalk to the residents of Brittany Court, it does not address the larger issue of sidewalks and accessibility for all the residents west of North Center. Staff feels the long-term solution is to construct sidewalks, ultimately from Main to McKinley, with crosswalks at Main and Center with the current project, Washington Street proposed, possibly McKinley, and at Madison, which are existing. This would provide access between west and east side of North Center Street. Staff is working on a design for sidewalk from Shawnee to Brittany Court with a new crosswalk at Washington. Staff can prepare the plans internally, however, construction of these improvements would not occur until the 2015 timeframe if the $20,000 and the city budgeted along with other funds can be used. If a more immediate solution is preferred, staff will begin working on relocating the crosswalk to the south side of Brittany Court. This can be accomplished in 2014 if funding is available.
How much funding are we talking about specifically just for the realignment of the sidewalk south of Brittany?
We're looking at approximate cost of around $10,000.
$10,000.
How much from McKinley to?
If you look at going from Shawnee to, there's a sidewalk about a half a block south of McKinley right now. You're looking at around the $30,000 range. There's a couple of issues we don't know yet as to where exactly is the right-of-way line. And you also look at there's real challenges with that option. Utilities are located there. There's actually some slopes which would require retaining walls. And then one house actually has steps coming down from the front of the house straight to the street. And so there's some challenges. I mean, all doable, but there's challenges there.
Yeah, I was just thinking about the grade, that there's a big problem there. I know this is significant.
Right. The wall's not going to be as high as the Moonlight, but, yeah.
Couple houses there.
Yep.
And what's council's thoughts on this?
My personal opinion is, I say you move the sidewalk as soon as possible, and that.
The crosswalk?
Or, yeah, the crosswalk, and then we, I would be in support of the longer term solution, but I think that we should address it as quickly as possible.
Is there any possibility we could do the study on the right-of-way issues now? Just kind of have that in our back pocket?
Yeah, we'll start looking at that. I mean, we've been looking at the challenges associated with it, and, like I said, that's one of the ones we came up with.
Okay.
My only question, Brian, on the short-term, quick solution, is will we be spending money on that solution that we'd have to spend again on a more permanent solution? Or could the plans incorporate into one of the longer-term solutions?
You probably not want it at both Washington as well as at Brittany Court.
Okay.
And so what you'd lose in that are basically two ADA ramps. 80 ramps go for about $1,500 apiece. So you're looking of losing about $3,000 worth of that investment. But you could do that now, and like I said, in a year or two, if you completed the larger project, that'd be money that you wouldn't recuperate.
But in your opinion, from the day after it's finished, is the safer?
Oh, very much so.
Pedestrian traffic, okay.
The residents of Brittany Court have expressed an interest in a light there, because they're having a lot of issues right now as they try to cross. As they mentioned this evening, people aren't stopping.
Right.
They'll swerve around. This will be a defined crosswalk, again, with the high reflectivity signage. We do have a lower speed limit. There are some options, but honestly, I was just out in Colorado last week, and I was in Buena Vista, and they had crosswalks mid-block. And you could go up to just the sign and push a button, and they had lights around the crosswalk sign that just started, high-intensity lights that started flashing, and it really grabbed your attention. That option's probably not that expensive. Putting an overhead signal like we did at Grand would be much more.
Yeah.
So we'll look at those.
Tori, you have any questions?
No, I think we need to address it quick if it's that dangerous.
And I think that it is, and I've sat in with meetings with staff members. And Brian's really laid out a lot of what we've done so far. We've taken the matter very seriously. We've taken steps. I think that our liability carrier and legal counsel would tell you that we're doing all the right things to address ADA noncompliance and you know, the steps that you're directing this evening is going to help get us there that much faster. So, but we're going to have issues in other spots. This is not an issue that's going to go away because we fixed Brittany Court. So, but consensus of council is let's see how quickly we can get this done. And I love the idea of being able to get the lights going. I mean, the lights going around the high reflective signs as opposed to overhang.
Yeah. A lot of drivers don't see that overhang.
Sure.
No, all right.
I was in middle of the daytime in Buena Vista, and a young lady hit that light, and it was amazing how it lit it up.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Very interesting. All right. Cheryl, Ryan, Laura. Captain, we hadn't got to you this evening. I'm sure we'll get around to it at some point. Keep an eye on the people on Brittany Court for us. Nothing untoward happens in the meantime. Council have anything for staff?
No, I said one thing, and I mentioned this to Cheryl in our briefing. I thought that our staff report was awesome this time. I liked all the pictures, I liked all the bid information, I liked all the background stuff that was, and everybody, I mean, each department, I liked it. Thank you.
Very good.
I've got one thing, it has to do with motions. They're wordy, and I know that according to, I want to say state statute, mayor is supposed to read them into the record, but I don't know that we all have to read all of each of these. Obviously, if there's a resolution or a ordinance number, that would be good. I'm gonna suggest, you might wanna, Jeannie, you might be able to find out, if they say, I move, we approve new business item number 2, and then instead of two of us reading it in, there's only one